Oh, Bob, it's that time. It's news talk time. So, I've built a tradition and it's, without you. So I apologize for that, but this is how we've been starting. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, due to a containment anomaly, all guests must take shelter immediately.
My favorite quality about Pops is that he's incredibly honest. At least you always know where you stand with Pops. So I like that. He'll give it to you straight down both barrels.
And here's the man who made it happen, that towering colossus of moxie.
As you can hear the chants from the crowd. As you can hear the chants from the crowd. Let's go, Brandon! Let's go, Brandon! Let's go, Brandon!
All right.
You only like moderately seem impressed. Like you only seem like moderate. I think you need more.
It looks familiar, but I can't say that I have seen that before.
Okay, well then we just have to do more. That's what we'll have to do. We'll just have to keep making you crazy. This is a new thing I found.
No, I forgot what it means. But that sounds great. My mind's going blank now. What's the song about?
I'm sure we're getting copyright struck, by the way.
But I can't remember. Anyway. LGB FJB LGB FJB LGB FJB LGB.
Bro,
this guy has like 60 of these little video clips of it's just these crazy montage videos. I'm like, this is crazy. I can't believe somebody's done this. But there you go, man. Look, we got a jam pack full of stuff. I have to make a Bob song. I don't even know a theme with Bob. I have to come up with something. I don't even know what to do.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Well, we got crazy vax and math stuff tonight to talk about. We have more general political stuff to talk about with Florida politics even. There is crazy assisted suicide story that landed in my lap. I couldn't believe that continues to be a thing, particularly in Europe. I don't know. There's this weird genderless thing that they try to do at Smithsonian, but boy, that story didn't go out the way they think it is, and it's just kind of hidden in there. Of course, I knew without snicker, but I had a weird news story. I wasn't going to hold it back. I think you'll appreciate it. It's got a little something there for you, and then maybe some time for some other stuff. You know how things are around here. We just kind of make it up as we go in a lot of ways. So. Anything been chomping at the bit for you? Like, yes, I can't wait to get to this story or that story. Or should we just jump right into this crazy mandate nonsense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good enough start as any.
All right. Well, let me get to share that. Is completely crazy land. This is the latest. Let's go through de Blasio in New York.
Bold action, aggressive action to address these new threats. It's Omicron, it's cold weather, which we know presents a real challenge with COVID in every form. It's the holiday gatherings coming up. There's a lot going on. And what we're seeing now in other parts of the world, and this is really an area of tremendous concern, we're seeing restrictions starting to come back. We're seeing shutdowns. Look at Germany right now. Such a strong nation. It's Omicron. It's cold weather.
Pause properly. I can't stand Newsweek's website, man. It's so frustrating. Anyway, long and short of this is he sure does mention a whole lot of stuff and fails to mention that in other parts of the world, they're also reporting how there's very little to no symptoms. Like it's a very mild strain and not the hysteria that maybe should warrant these crazy shutdowns. But he doesn't say any of that, does he? In his vax across the board, 5 and up, right? I have that right. But he doesn't say any of that. Uh-oh. Bob?
What's up, man?
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, so I mean, it's vax for 5 and up, they could stop you from going to restaurants and all that kind of thing. That's what he was basically proposing, correct?
Oh, De Blasio, yeah, he's going all
Yeah.
out with 3 weeks left. The problem is, he may actually have the authority to do all this. That's the thing, because the locals and the state officials have sweeping police powers to do this kind of stuff. The big question is what's Adams going to do when he takes over? That's the big question.
Well, a judge put this off until the 14th, so he didn't get to implement it as fast as he may have thought. Today was Tuesday. Yesterday, Judge Frank P. Nervo in the Supreme Court of New York gave notice the mandate was suspended, so they'll have a hearing on the 14th. And then there's sort of like a lot of back and forth about exactly what you're saying, whether or not this is something they can do or not. Like this is so expanded into, you can't go to restaurants, you can't go to stores. Physically, if you're not vaccinated, you can't have proof of vaccine. Mm-hmm. You and your kids really have next to no life. Like there's just very little that you even are going to be able to even do. Like I don't even know how you can feed yourself if every store is requiring these things. There's fines. They're trying to roll out at-home vaccines. That was part of this story, was kind of snuck in. I hadn't heard that before. I don't know if you had. Is that kind of a thing that's in other parts of the country, or is that like a New York thing?
Oh, as far as I know, that's just New York. I mean, that sounds like New York City. The state itself has also gone back to some draconian things, but yeah, De Blasio is taken to another level. And I guess the other question I would have is, yeah, he's the mayor, so he probably has some authority to this, but I don't know the legalities, but should he have the city council on board with this? Should there be some vote amongst them? I'm not sure about that. It sounds incredibly dictatorial, and really unnecessary too.
And you bring up a great point too. It's like, if you're a city council person, how are you not speaking up and going, wait a minute, whoa, you're not doing this without including us? You know what I mean? It's like, here I am. He just stands up there and then just says all these things, and that's it. We're going to do it. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. But again, like you said, for 2 years now, they basically didn't do anything. So it's a little hard now. I guess it's like, this is where the line will be drawn. I don't know. And we have another situation on the other coast, right? We have, let me go to Oregon. We've talked about Kate Brown before, but you want to say about New York?
I was going to say, while you're bringing that up, you have to remember though that De Blasio has his eyes on running for governor. So this is all part of the package. I think he thinks this is going to help him.
Yeah, this is going to be the new litmus test on some of these different tactics in these big cities. It's like what they can get away with in their city, what will states agree to. This is Kate Brown. They're moving forward in Oregon with statewide mask mandates that'll basically be perpetual. They're not going to stop. And then, of course, within 24 hours of that announcement, there's photos that emerged of her. This is her right there, center, at an LGBTQRS Elemental P event. Without her mask. So, and nobody a mask. If you notice people in the background, no masks, none of them. So again, people are going to put up with this stuff, but it's just, this is another photo, other people posing. I think the one person she's speaking to has a mask on, but there's 1, 2, 3 or 4 people in the background. They don't have masks on. This is crazy.
Well, I mean, I would think Governor Brown would have bigger fish to fry right now with all the criminal activity going on in Portland, and so it's kind of crazy that this is her focus. I don't get it.
This is just basically it's a mask mandate, and it's just going to stay in effect. It's like an emergency order to just keep it in place. Then that way we won't have to worry about her theory is, or the way she explained it was, this way we won't have to worry about trying to issue or reissue mandates. We don't have to keep doing this constant cycle, because she views it as a constant measure. through all these different variants and all these different things that keep popping up with the different strains and different variations. So her theory is we'll just have this in place, and then someday when it's all over, then we'll just take it out. And it's like, no. And this involves like masking outside, masking in public parks. I mean, their stuff is so draconian. I mean, this is like New Zealand draconian. This is Australia. This is Oregon, though.
Yeah. It's too bad. It just makes me wonder, how's the population going to deal with that? I know there's those that I see them on Twitter that they're all for keeping this thing going forever and ever, and the virus ain't going away. And I mean, this morning it was absolutely amazing because I didn't go to work today. I was able to watch a little bit of TV. I saw some Morning Joe this morning, and typically pretty painful. But I did catch a little clip of them saying something interesting. Would you like to hear it?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I need to lose a couple years off my life by listening to Morning Joe.
Well, it's just several of the things I got to talk about COVID is like, okay, you're so now you're finally on board. That's the general feel. Let me see if I can find this clip pretty quickly.
Have you noticed any changes? Obviously, this stuff's getting hysterical in the press over the last week or so. You notice any changes in general people's behavior or anything like that, as far as more or less masking?
Here in Florida, no. I mean,
no. Okay. I still notice a major difference in Tampa than I do everywhere else I go.
I just don't see it. Now, have more people been getting vaccinated? That seems to be the trend because the fear factor came out again. But I mean, that's fine. I'm obviously I'm not opposed to that.
Let's hear what Joe and is it? Yeah, this was on with her. So
this was the conversation this morning. Here's just a short clip of it. Hopefully, you can hear it.
It seems to me that Republicans, but even Democrats, are starting to understand that we're going to have to learn to live with this. Yeah. We're not going to be we're not going to be able to shut down cities again. We're not going to be able to shut down schools again. It's time now we move into a phase where we're going to have to figure out how to live with this, how to keep everything open, how to be responsible.
Mika in the background. What a clown.
And Democrats have been understanding that on the Hill, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, doctors are telling people we're going to have to get boosters likely every year, right? How we get a flu shot. You know what I mean?
Anyway, bro, that's
really all I love that he was nodding as though this is something that like, oh yeah, we all agree on this. This is like a complete 180 different direction for these people. Is suddenly it'll be around forever. We shouldn't shut things down.
Yes, exactly.
It's like all you're doing is proving that DeSantis was right a year and a half ago. Like this is
that's really my point. It's
crazy.
Like, that's how I've been living since late April of last year.
Yeah.
So
April/May of last year was when Florida pretty much opened up, and we were having conversations about how to approach, keeping safe, being safe, where we were on different things. And here we are now. And now we suddenly, and Democrats are coming around. It's like, oh man, you guys are just.
Yeah. And,
but,
and then hearing Mika in the background, mandates. she's just horrible.
I know.
She's horrible.
The alternative to shutdown is mandates. Like they're so authoritarian. They're so into controlling people like a drug. Like it's like an addiction at this point. That their alternative to shutdown is we're going to have a bunch of mandates in place from 5-year-olds and up. So New York to Oregon, folks, that's the latest in that regard. And, we were talking offline. You were talking about how the media has really been working with the Bidens, kind of daily damage control of their messaging and that kind of thing. That's kind of been reported now. CNN's basically been transparent about that. Do you see any real shift? I mean, I do see a little bit of criticism and that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Yeah, there has been criticism.
We had a chat. We had a message come in. VOA. What does VOA mean? Do you guys know?
I don't know. Voice of America.
Voice of America. That's you, Bob. You're Voice of America.
Is that me? All right.
I don't know who Sandra Johns is. Thanks for the comment, Sandra.
Well, you're LGB, so I mean. I
am. Let's go, Brandon. I didn't know I could get the whole country behind me so quickly. I have a clip I didn't get a chance to finish editing from Dave Rubin. Talks about his friend Brandon. So my name's getting out there. My name is getting out there. So there we go. We're talking about the press and the media, and I mean, there's so many things. The polls show approval's down, inflation's hitting everybody. They can't deny how bad the inflation is any longer. The jobs numbers are never, they're not even like half of expectations. Stock market's all over the map because nobody knows what to do, what to expect. So I don't know, what are some of the things that you've been seeing, or at least caught your eye as far as the media and how they're handling political coverage right now?
Well, I think the more left-wing corporate media has had to be critical. I mean, you can't ignore 6% inflation. You can't ignore supply chain issues. You can't ignore the debacle of Afghanistan, and they're forced, to acknowledge that. But you have the one guy, Dana Milbank. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a Washington Post columnist, I think. He's saying that Biden has been getting it worse than Trump has, which is, anecdotally, I don't buy that. I haven't seen any studies to back that up. However, right, if we can get that article up real quick, this is the one I was talking about. It's like White House working behind the scenes. So they're so concerned about the media coverage, the poor media coverage they're getting. They're meeting with newscasters and all these other people from some of the big media companies saying, listen, you gotta do us better than that.
That's crazy.
What? I'll tell you what, bro, there's a word for that.
Propaganda.
Propaganda. That's absolutely it. That's what you would find in China and North Korea and in countries like that.
Well, especially because the flip side of the coin is, for 3 years during the Trump administration, all you heard was about Russian collusion. And the media was all about this. The same basically was 100% proved wrong. And now you have the media basically doing the complete opposite, where they're trying to massage the narrative, massage the ratings, massage everything to get positive coverage. That's really, and I mean, obviously we're not shocked. No one should be surprised that big media is manipulating things. I mean, we just had Chris Cuomo, we talked about last week. Chris Cuomo got fired. He's basically was running, Oppo research on someone attacking his brother, yet having his brother on CNN playing gag segments and SNL knockoff sketches and stuff. So it's really no shock. It's just the shock that anybody's even admitting that this is going on. That's actually the biggest surprise, is that big media working with the Democrats in power is come out. But,
my God, of all the things I saw today, that was by far the most concerning. I can't believe that. And
it's public.
And the people are being honest. He said, White House officials had come to us looking for better coverage, more positive coverage. You've got to stop slamming us on inflation and supply chain. And unacceptable. That is absolutely the opposite purpose of the media. The media is to hold politicians and government officials' feet to the fire, regardless of party. And we just don't see that anymore on both sides.
Well, not only that, and I mean, I'm sure you have seen, but let people know, YouTube has gotten so bad. They actually just this last week or so announced how they are disabling the dislike button. So it's there and you can click it, but you'll no longer see the counter. And that's because so many people were pointing out false narratives, bogus statements, all sorts of things. And part of the like and dislike ratio was part of that. So this is from hardcore politics all the way to like pop culture. This was a big deal. So turning off the dislike thing only helps really the larger the site or to try to draw attention away from false information, false narratives, or opinions that you don't like, those kinds of things. So yeah, there's censorship every corner and every angle. You know, we can call it propaganda or not. It doesn't really matter because this stuff is just, I don't know, it's out of control. So,
well, but you know, you would think that if I was a news person, a journalist at CNN or MSNBC, and somebody from the White House approached me about that, I would say no, I will not do that.
Well, yeah, first off, you have too much integrity to work for those two companies that you mentioned, because that's off the table. Number two, but they all want to do it because they can be a part of the cocktail party. Like they've all been transparent about doing this for years.
Yeah, but as a real journalist, you need to know what your role is. Yeah.
20. So the election was what, 2016. He took office in 2017. So it would have been 2016, right before he took office, right? The Podesta email leak, right? We got the Podesta emails. And in the Podesta emails, there were so many emails, which, by the way, he's a complete moron. His password was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I kid you not. He had emails of like, I am having a get together at my house, and all the people on the email are in the press. Now, I don't know their roles in the press. I wasn't going to go through all of these names, but they would be like, they're talking about like the kind of hot dogs to get, and it's so-and-so gluten-free, and there was no like buffer. There was like 20 of these emails that had been sent like a few weeks before. So there's this massive, you know, group. Oh, I had something fall. I don't know why. Oh, I see this other thing roll. Sorry about that, folks. Craziness in the background. So even back then, that's 2016, before we knew Russia collusion, all that kind of stuff, was these emails that were coming out we're talking about. They're just having these general conversations. They're hanging out together. There's no barrier that you would expect from press and journalism. And I think that the problem right now is their umbrella. They're fighting so well to get their umbrella broader. And we've seen that with like YouTube. YouTube was skyrocketing as an alternate way to get information. And then all of a sudden it become recommendations, and all the stuff was full of CNN, ABC, NBC, Fox, all that kind of stuff. The big money players and all your YouTubers and stuff were gone. Yep. And now, even if you're subscribed, you have to kind of stay up on your subscriptions, because you'll just wake up one day and you won't be subscribed. It's very, very strange. And they blame algorithms, they blame all sorts of stuff. But the control of information in big media is a massive battle that's going on in this country. And I wish more people could pay attention to it and more people got involved with a way of coming up with a solution to fix it. I really don't know what that answer would be.
Yeah. Well, you know, I just before we came on the air, I was going through my emails and I got one from Tom Woods, you know, his mailing list. And he's going to have Robert Kennedy Jr. on the show coming up. So he was just making that announcement. Not a fan of his at all, just I want to put that out there. But he has the right to interview him. But Tom Woods says he's not going to put it on YouTube because it won't even last. So he's going with one of these alternate Odyssey or Rumble or one of those.
Yeah, and I've had a hard time navigating through this. Now, Rumble is more like I don't know, 4 or 5 big. It's almost like channels. It's almost like a network. And it's almost like you can watch Dan Bongino and, you know, Newsmax or whatever. But it's like for all the other content, if you're not the name to be in that group, I can't find anything. I don't really see anything.
Yeah. You get buried very easily there.
Yeah, you're just lost. And then on Odyssey, I don't get it. I'm missing.
Never been.
Yeah, I'm just missing some of that. I don't know what's going on there. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, man. I think I've tried to play a little bit too, put stuff on there, played around with MeWe for a while, all these different. But you know what? We're just not there yet. We're not anywhere close to alternatives to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube yet. There are different things. And I think people that have big followings can take a large enough portion of their audience into these little buckets, and it will keep them going. But for guys like us that are so small anyway, there's just not a lot of numbers there for us to even dig it. It becomes more work than it's worth to even try to do it, in my opinion. And I don't mean that, folks, I don't really mean it like I don't care and I won't do it. It's just, there's no click through. There's nothing there. So it's just a lot of work for not a lot of return. And that's the problem. These things are just not good. Not worth doing, I guess, for us.
I mean, when this show, does achieve what it needs to achieve to become monetized, I don't know how that's going to work out.
No, we get flagged all the time for all the different things that it is always saying, this warning, that warning, this way, so, and then copyright stuff. So, who knows what will happen? We'll figure it out. So, we transitioned through some politics, Bob. I wanted to know, you're going to have to catch me up on the Charlie Crist news, because I guess there's news. He's reemerged. I'm not thrilled. I cannot stand this political place that we're in as it is, let alone knowing that we're going to have the people coming back like this. It's just, that's the worst news imaginable for me.
Yeah, that's how much out of the loop I am. I didn't realize he was running for governor. And I saw him on Twitter today. I'm like, what? So there's the tweet I'm throwing up there. And I don't know if you have to allow there you go. Hey, Twitter, spread this far and wide. My name is Charlie Crist. I'm running for governor of Florida because I can't stand the damage that Ron DeSantis is doing to the state. So just to refresh my memory, I went to Wikipedia, right, and just went through that. And this guy has been a politician nearly his whole adult life, right out of high school, right out of law school, college, whatever. He's been running for. That's his thing. He likes to run for office, and he's a total chameleon. You can see some of his positions even on Wikipedia. He may have changed his abortion opinions 3 times in a year. I mean, that's how frequently it would change depending on which way the wind was blowing. The guy just has no what's the term?
Fortitude.
No true beliefs. I guess that's what it is. It's just whatever is going to help him run for the next office and succeed. And he's had a lot of success.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway,
Charlie was a very, very popular governor here as a Republican. And then when that weird move to run for Senate, and then Rubio and he flip-flopped around and become a Democrat, and there was a close friend of ours is the third candidate in that. It disrupted everything for his reputation at that point. And then now he become a Democrat so he could become return to the House in his own district because it's safe. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. The thought of Charlie winning here is frightening because the name alone warrants. You feel like the tide has shifted in Florida so much. People really have a good appreciation of what DeSantis has done, keeping things open, keeping the economy moving, really trying to push off a lot of external control from federal government and other agencies. But you start having a name like that come into play, and that kind of tightens the race up just based on name recognition. So
yeah, and Crist has made it pretty clear that he, as part of his chameleon act, he's even becoming more progressive, and so he'll be coming to the plate with more leftist type ideas, which is going to fire up some people in the state. Remember, DeSantis didn't beat Gillum by a whole lot. Now, granted,
it's like 0.4 of a point.
All right, so DeSantis is, I think, much more popular now than he was then.
Absolutely.
For even me, I was like,
I'm with you.
I was questioning. It's like, is this the worst of the
lesser two evils argument, right?
Two evils, right? And he turned out to be pretty good. And I actually been very happy to be in this state because a lot of it in part Ron DeSantis.
And I will say we'll have to table some more conversation for when we can have Alex with us, maybe next week, because the tan man coming back will definitely honk him off. We might break his profanity rule with him. The orange man, because Trump is not the original orange man. It is Charlie Crist, just so you guys know. The tan man, I think, is a nickname as well here in Florida.
I would just say to the listener, the viewer, just spend 10 minutes and just take a look at his history. If that
whatever issue is your primary issue, just look at his changes of stances on that one issue, and it'll make your head pop off. Just pick one. It doesn't matter which issue it is. He's changed. 100% guarantee it.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No, only Hillary to me is the only one, because I had always thought John Kerry, because I was one of the, I was early in my political analysis days, and it was like, the flip-flop jokes were there and whatever. But Hillary has flip-flopped on so many things, so many times, that I think she got herself so confused by the time you got to 2016. It was rare she'd even remotely be pinned and down on anything. The problem with Charlie is getting enough media to even call it out. I think if it can become a topic or whatever, I don't know, maybe this is a good area for us. We do these montage videos. Charlie on this topic, and just put all of the different clips together, because it is, it's insane. Living through it has been really, really rough. Like it's been rough having Charlie as a representative at all. Yeah.
After reading what I did on Wikipedia, refreshing my memory, because I probably didn't pay a whole lot of attention to Florida politics back in the day. I legitimately believe he's hooked on the game. He's hooked on
the power,
running for office.
Yes.
Just the running for office. I think he just loves that, and he'll do whatever it takes. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea of him being former anything is not setting well with him. He cannot let it go. He cannot let it go and return to civilian life for whatever reason. He just can't do it. We're seeing this with Beto O'Rourke too, by the way, who's going to run for governor in Texas. However, the contrast is Beto hasn't won anything. He's like 0 for 2 major races, and didn't make an electoral vote. He was so insignificant. And he said crazy radical things at the end of his presidential run to try to get attention, and that didn't work either. I don't know how he can come back to Texas and pretend that, he went on the record, folks, of saying, Beto said, wide open borders, and I will take your guns. Mark my words, we're coming for your guns. He went full in, no border, and take your gun. Not buybacks. No, we're coming. It was so radical. He thought that might be the thing to get him some traction in that race. And
it should be for listeners or viewers that should be a red light, right? If you have somebody that just perpetually runs for offices and doesn't go get a regular job or anything, that's got to be a problem. That has to be a red light for anybody that's paying attention.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't know if we talked about it last week or not. My wife shot down all of my running for office ambitions. So it's not going to happen. But I don't understand, because my strategy in a lot of situations is just to tell someone we're going to agree to disagree. But I can tell you that issue is not a really big high priority on my to-do list. I don't understand why it's so hard to just be it's like no matter where you are in the political spectrum, some things are just not going to come up. They're just not a big deal, but they are made into a the climate change thing. It's what do you want me to do? It's not a high priority for me. Well, how are you going to vote? I don't know until I read it. Probably not likely. Probably not likely, because my solutions and your solutions are probably not going to be the same. I'm just being perfectly honest with you.
And that is the question with an issue like that too.
Yeah. I got to read it.
Well, it's what do you actually want to be done? Do you want to bring the economy to a halt, or do you want to handle this on a reasonable basis? Yeah, because many of the things
are never like campaigns are not around solutions anymore. Like it's all about bumper stickers. It's all about Instagram, YouTube, and little blurbs that can be thrown up on a cable news show, those kinds of things. That the idea of talking about solutions and plans and things like that, it's just a farce. It's just a farce. Yeah. So, all right. Sadly, we have to follow that nightmarish story with an actual horror story, because I couldn't believe we have to bring up this topic again. But sadly, the world is still, I guess, obsessed with murdering other humans. And I don't totally understand why we're doing that. Assisted suicide now moving to Switzerland with the quote, painless death. This is the new thing. These are new 3D printed pods. This is their marketing campaign. They have a marketing campaign for an assisted suicide pod, which looks something out of a sci-fi movie. In fact, they look just like the alien pods, except for they're blue. They look just like the alien movie pods. And it's an Australian company. It's a pod that's created. It's called Exit International, and it's dubbed the Sarco machine. And basically, the person gets in the capsule, they lie down. It's, quote, very comfortable. And they'll be asked a number of questions. And then, of course, they press the button inside. They press the button, and that activates the mechanism on their own. Now, the mechanism itself is explained right here. It takes about 30 seconds. Death is through hypoxia, hypocapnia, oxygen and carbon dioxide deprivation, respectively. Right. There is no panic, no choking feeling, he says.
Right.
And his last name is Nishki, which, again,
that's interesting. But you scrolled by a bunch of U.S. states on that article.
Yeah, I was going to go back to that, because they do have that here. In assisted suicide is legal in parts of the United States: California, Colorado, Hawaii, New Jersey, Oregon, Washington State, Vermont, and D.C.
I did not know that.
Now, the level of assisted suicide and the details on assisted suicide in many of those states can be complicated, usually involve medical doctors diagnosing very specific categories of mental illness and depression, as well as maybe terminal illness and things like that. So the goal or the idea is that, people that are, medically terminal, but are not battling bipolar or depression or things like that. However, we always seem to follow the lead in other places in Europe, particularly Belgium and the Netherlands. And in those countries, there's been countless lawsuits. The doctors are never prosecuted, where they have fraudulently documented medical records, not diagnosed things, not notified other family members of the process. Like there was one, I don't know how they got out of this. The little lady had basically been put in the assisted living facility, or maybe a nursing home, because of her mental illness and her inability to function on her own. The doctor came in, diagnosed all this. She was allegedly terminal, and she went through the assisted suicide process, and then the family found out that it was even going on. They never got notified. They did it without even notifying the family. I was like, it was crazy. So yeah, this is still a thing, and it's still spreading. And the Exit International company in Australia, which I found also ironic, is that it's about, they're marketing it to the Europeans, but the Australians, who are on total lockdown, crazy mode with COVID restrictions, have now got little pods, little sarcopods to kill humans.
Wow.
So there we go.
So this doesn't have to go through any kind of legal process. A 20-year-old can show up and say, it's a wrap. I want to.
So the articles didn't really give me a lot to go on what the rules are in Switzerland. Now, that's the problem, is I couldn't really figure out, like, I didn't have a lot of time to figure out the assisted suicide, because I gotta be honest, Switzerland is not one that has come up a lot for me, because I do, this is weird to say this, I follow this, but it's one of these like pro-life elements of my life that just really bothers me. They call it dignity in dying, of course. Let's see what it said. This is an article. Let's just switch. We'll switch screens and go to that one, and then maybe we can learn a little bit together, folks.
I love how they always set up the verbiage for these different things. Reproductive health care, dignity in dying. Yeah. Instead of saying what it is.
Yeah, the one in Belgium, I believe it's Belgium. I get the Belgium and Netherlands. There's like a lot of overlap, and it can be a little confusing of which one has which policies. They have a mobile unit that'll come to your house. They just come to your house and help you kill yourself. So, okay, in Switzerland, it became legal in 1942.
Wow.
As long as the motives are, quote, not selfish. Okay. Let's see. Loved ones. There's not a lot of information there. Not a lot of information there.
But it looks like at the beginning of the article, it looks like these are Britons that showed up in Switzerland to have this done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
So apparently it's not legal in the UK, or maybe it is.
There's no prosecution of this in Switzerland. It's definitely not legal in the UK. I can definitely tell you that. It's definitely not legal in the UK.
Okay.
And I say that meaning that there's not special circumstances like there are in the States America listed, So I'll say it's not commonplace, that kind of thing. The pods would not be legal there yet, basically those kinds of
The pods, man.
Isn't that crazy? I couldn't believe we're making pods. The idea of this medical, I took an oath to heal people, cure them of disease, will now be used to ethically help people kill themselves. And then to think that this won't go terribly badly with people for financial reasons and government control and those kinds of things. It's just really hard for me, man.
It's really unfortunate that there's not more coverage on stuff like that. I don't personally go seeking this stuff out. So
yeah,
it'd be nice to see it in some more, mainstream type coverage.
It doesn't even make the scroll, to be honest. So,
yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, it is. This kind of stuff, it doesn't make. And I think for a lot of folks on the left, the big media folks, they're just going to look at it as a topic that they sort of like have never really gone through any mental exercise with. They've never been challenged on, and it's more like they race to the extreme example of grandma's got terminal cancer. How dare I tell her that she has to live with it? That kind of thing. They don't go through any of the other moral dilemmas of it all. So.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
In the other category of bizarre, it is definitely not my weird story, but it is definitely bizarre. This story is so strange to me. It's the gender neutral voice assistant that is now at the Smithsonian. So this was their thing that they put out. Meet the voice.
Q.
Its name is Q.
Hi, I'm Q, the world's first genderless voice assistant. Think of me like Siri or Alexa, but neither male nor female.
Do you hear female and male or both? What do you hear, Bob?
It's pushing female to me, but
it leans female, but it also sounds like every now and again it almost sounds like an effeminate male. It's like it just it's a little window there, and then the story is very interesting with how they came up with it. Let me play a little bit more.
I'm created for a future where we are no longer defined by gender, but rather how we define ourselves. My voice was recorded by people who neither identify as male nor female, and then altered to sound gender neutral, putting my voice between 145.
That's the key to the story. The voice was altered. So I want to scroll down to where they discuss this, because the article goes through, quote, one of our big goals with Q was to contribute to a global conversation about gender and technology and ethics and how to be inclusive for people that identify in all sorts of different ways, says Julie Carpenter, an expert in human behavior and emerging technologies who worked on developing Project Q. So then it goes a little further. They recorded dozens of voices of people, those who identify as male, female, transgender, and non-binary. But sound designer Nice Norgard ended up focusing on one voice and altering it so it could sound gender neutral. So it's just something made up. The story, the whole thing is just manufactured as though there's a way that we can have a convergence of sound recordings from a scale of male and female, but reality is they can never do it. So this person just recorded a whole bunch of stuff and they just made one up.
But what's the point of it? What company's doing this?
Well, Smithsonian. It's at the Smithsonian.
Smithsonian. I mean, all right. So what's the motivation for the Smithsonian to do this?
Well,
what's
I told you, because they have to identify. They have to be inclusive and it has to identify all sorts of people. So,
but you can. You could still be a female electronic voice and speak to, whatever gender you proclaim to be. I don't know what the.
Well, I think that this is the transition that we're making. Like, so the whole concept of Siri, what is it called? It's Siri, right? Is that right? Alexa and anyway.
Siri.
Is that the comforting, soft voice of a woman in surveys and in research groups was the most positive people responded to, was like a pleasant voice or whatever. I have to be honest. I've never wondered why they don't have people recording different accents and things like that, so you can pick and choose what you want. However, but this will be the new thing. The new thing will be, or you can just, virtue signal and get the genderless voice. You can get Q. So the best part of the story is it's all bogus. There's nothing gender neutral about this at all. All the story of them recording people's voices and all of that, none of that matters because this person, this sound designer, focused on one voice and then altered it.
Yep.
Yeah. The whole thing is just a bunch of garbage nonsense.
It's just.
Sorry, Q.
Sorry, Smithsonian. Why are you wasting your time on stuff like this? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, virtue signal. Our money.
Oh my gosh, you ain't kidding.
Yeah. So
thanks for digging that out of the hopper.
Yeah, I just fell in my lap, and the best part is I just kind of I thought that was weird, and I kind of flagged it as, oh, that's kind of weird. And then as I read it, and I'm like, what? And I would listen to the voice because I only listened to like the first 10 seconds or something of the voice, and I was like, what on earth? And then, yeah, the voice at Q admits that it was manufactured. Like, oh yeah, they just altered it. They just made me. I'm like. Okay, so all the rest of the story is completely moot. You just think you know what gender neutral sounds like.
It'd be interesting to scroll through the comments on that article, see what's being said.
I didn't already close it because I wanted to get on to the next
okay.
part. I know we're already at what are we on? We're like at 40 minutes. Well, yeah, almost 50 minutes. Chloe, good for yeah, gender neutral, Bob. What's the point? The point is we have to. Yeah, this is my other story. This is my weird story, Bob, because I know you're a gamer. I know you're down with the games and you know what's going on. The best part is this is a racing game, Forza Horizon 5, and the best part is you can construct your own vehicle. And this person got banned for making a vehicle. Waiting for it to populate. They got their ban message. You've been banned. They've been banned until the year 9,099, which I assume is just the maximum number of things. And this is why they got banned. They made a race car that is a KFC sponsored race car with Kim Jong-un on the side. That's fantastic to me. Could you imagine playing a video game? And this thing just races by you. I'm like, wait a minute. So the video game is marketed with cars like this, right? So in the video game's marketed with this, it's like a Mercedes, but it looks more like a Ferrari. There's like a Bronco SUV thing racing off-road. So I assume this is like an off-road type game. And then somebody decided they could make their own. And they just said, well, I'm going to make a smart car KFC Kim Jong-un vehicle.
That's great.
And they got themselves banned. Your gamer tag has been banned from this feature. For more information, the Xbox Network's term of service agreement, please visit blah 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 blah. But they've been banned until
8,000 years. That's pretty random, man. It's like what?
Well, I assume they just like that. I assume the years only goes to 9999, and they just put the maximum thing, and they went to 10,000 years basically.
Oh man,
yeah.
That's just...
So my friend just told me that he got an 8,000 year ban for one of his liveries, which I assume it looks like a T10 doesn't like jokes or something. He never received any warning before this ban. What kind of warning could you give someone? Hey, by the way, you can't make a Kim Jong-un KFC car for our video game. The best part was, here it goes. Are you ready? The livery, which I guess is their term for their car, it had hashtags that said "send nukes."
Oh man!
Oh my gosh, it's
good stuff. That's
I guess the Nike logo's changed. I can't see the Nike logo, but yeah, this says Pyongyang right there.
It's just the general appearance of the car too. It's just like
the greatest, man. It's just so over the top silly. It's the best. And you know what? I had to do it. There's send nukes. You can see it right below the window. See send nukes right there. That's the best. And nothing else. I said I had to do this so that we could do a thumbnail. I have to do the KFC Kim Jong-un car. You know me.
All right.
And I say that's the kind of thing that needs to be in a thumbnail regularly, to be honest, in my opinion. So
yeah, man. Kim Jong-un.
Oh my goodness. It is good stuff, man. It is good stuff right there. You know, we normally talk about stuff we're into. We don't talk about stuff we're doing, that kind of thing. I can let you go first because I basically have been watching Christmas movies, and I thought I'd maybe talk about Christmas movies, but I'll let you talk first about what you're into, what you've been watching, what you've been doing.
Oh man, actually not a whole lot. Been really tied up with stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any YouTube videos I've been hooked on lately. There's really not. But I'll go ahead and talk. Let me talk about something else, Paul.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Since I don't have anything in the hopper. I just want to go, swing back to Omicron a little bit. On the Tampa Dispatch, I did do a short blog on it about it not being very serious, very early anecdotal evidence. And I'll just share that real quick.
Yeah, folks, if you have a question about that, you can just Google South African doctor Omicron, and you can get her breaking all that down for you. So you can hear her give you firsthand knowledge of the patients that she ran into and how she identified Omicron and all of that. So
the European CDC, these numbers are old now. I got the latest ones here, and they've seen hundreds of cases, well over 300. And the line is the same. All cases for which there is available information on severity were either asymptomatic or mild. No deaths have been reported. Again, yes, I get it. That's anecdotal, and it is still too early. But even it's funny to hear that even Fauci is pretty much on board with that now. He's actually saying that it's almost certainly not more severe than Delta. So Fauci's on board. Now, what does that mean? He's been wrong on so many things. Hopefully he's not wrong on this one. And then in the article that I put on the Tampa Dispatch, I encourage you to check it out. I just put some quotes from some different physicians in South Africa and what they've been seeing. Again, yes, anecdotal, but I follow this stuff pretty closely, and I have not seen one fatality from Omicron. So that doesn't mean there hasn't been any, but I have not seen any, published anywhere. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting.
And last week we talked about how viruses, virology 101 teaches us that, a virus gets weaker over time as it sort of mutates because it's trying not to kill its host. It's trying to survive and replicate. So if it's staying very virulent and it's staying dangerous to its host, then it can't keep existing. So it should not be a surprise for us as things start to mutate and evolve that the newer strains will be less dangerous than some of the older ones were. So
yeah, bro. Yeah, here's another thing I saw. Actually,
this is crazy information. I didn't have time to really dissect this. I got an overview of it, And I was like, well, I got to dive deep in this. So we may have to come back to this next week to really get into some of this, because there's some really interesting things here.
Yesterday, the Surgeon General, his name is Vivek Murthy, came out and said, listen, I got to issue this advisory for youth mental health. And it's like, just like with some of the other issues we've talked about with like Joe Scarborough and all that. It's like, dude, we've been concerned about this forever, and now it's a crisis right now. It's a little late. And that's what kills me about all this stuff is public health. This is my opinion on it. I've worked in public health, is not so laser focused and so myopic on the virus itself. You have to take into account, what's the effect going to be on children that aren't going to school and they're locked in their house? What's the effect on the economy? What's the effect on nurses that can't go to work? These are all big pictures. What's the effect of not getting cancer care? What's the effect of not getting different types of surgeries, elective surgeries when you need it? All these things should be taken into account, and they weren't. It was Dr. Fauci and even the Twitter people that I follow. They're so laser focused on the virus itself that all these other things we're going to start seeing this as time goes on. Things are just going to start crumbling and coming out of the woodwork. I saw that England, they said they had more than 700,000 potential cancer cases that were missed due to COVID. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, you and I talked about this last summer. This isn't even like something that we were talking about like last week or whatever. We've been talking about this several times. We've been talking about the suicide rate. I mean, we're talking about suicide numbers, folks, that have nearly doubled. And like, I think it's like teen girls, like the 11 to 15 range, went up like 40% in a year. Like some of these stats, and then there's like populations of groups that are just, some of the data is nuts. But if you think about anything as a side effect of these, lockdowns, mandates, isolation, you're going to see suicide, drug use, drug overdose, elective surgery, unnecessary rise in death rates for different illnesses that we have cures for, massive amounts of depression, alcoholism, domestic abuse, domestic violence issues. We're going to see stats on all of this stuff, and it will be deflect and not have any responsibility for all of their stuff. So, wow, we have to end on a positive note, man. We can't end on this.
But bring that last thing I just put up there. Yeah.
Which part's this one?
Yeah. So this paragraph, can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
All right. The second paragraph, it would be a tragedy. This is right from the advisory from Surgeon General.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
This is the actual advisory. It would be a tragedy if we beat back one public health crisis only to allow another to grow in its place. You think
they're criminals, man? They're monsters.
And dude, I appreciate him bringing this up, but dude,
but he's complicit in the fact that we're going to have 6 crises.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be a follower. You're supposed to be, be able to see this in advance. If I was able to see this
for a year,
why couldn't you?
Yeah, we all did. We talked. You and I talked about this in detail. There are tons of outlets that were talking about raising concerns. There were people talking about. I can give you a very specific example. Gary Beekler from Neurotic was talking about struggles they were having in California of them shutting down AA meetings, and they had to fight to make sure they could still do AA meetings. That's insane. Like, you have people who are literally relying on these meetings, relying on this element of care. There's another story. I think it's Laura Chen talking about her dad couldn't get cancer treatment.
Yeah,
couldn't get cancer treatment. Had to go somewhere else. Just it's like get in the car and go, or it's going to go find somebody. It's like, and you know what? He's a monster. He doesn't get cover for coming out now when you've been, I don't know when he took office as Surgeon General. So maybe that's part of the equation. We can talk about this more next week, especially if Alex joins us too, because I haven't had a chance to go through a lot of those data and highlight those points, but It's not going to surprise us. We're going to see
I'm sure he was appointed by
going to
Biden.
shock us. It's going to shock us.
He must have been appointed by Biden.
Yeah, so that means for a year.
Yeah.
For a year, he's had time to come out and go, listen, we have to start balancing some other public policy here. But that's not what they do, man. We started the show. De Blasio is vax everybody, and Oregon is mask until the end of time. So, can we talk about Christmas movies now? Because you're bringing me.
Yeah. Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
All right. So, I start like around Thanksgiving, and we'll watch Christmas movies. And we used to watch like almost like one or so a day. Like every evening or so, we try to watch one or parts of one or things like that. So, do you have? I mean, so here's my list. The best Christmas movie of all time. Again, as a critic, is It's a Wonderful Life. It's not even debatable. Like, actually, most lists that are by responsible writers will put it at the top where it belongs because it's just that great of a film. I'm not saying it's the most rewatchable because then I put 3 in my next group, which is Elf, Christmas Vacation, and A Christmas Story, because they're for the most part. I mean, Christmas Vacation has some racy parts, but they're family friendly. They're fun. You can laugh. Everyone can be in the room. And then the next category are like the classics, right? So you have the animation / claymation classics of like, How Grinch Stole Christmas, Charlie Brown Christmas, the Rudolph, the Santa Claus Coming to Town, Year Without Santa Claus, Frosty the Snowman stuff that, that's the vintage classic Christmas stuff for kids, right? Mm-hmm. So you have all of that. And then you have sort of a hodgepodge list of other Christmas movies. And I spin my wheels in there a lot. Like for me, I consider Die Hard a Christmas movie for a lot of reasons, but I just watched Die Hard again. God, I love that movie. Mm-hmm. But not everybody enjoys that kind of stuff. But there are others like Santa Claus, I think is a fun movie. I don't care for the second or third one nearly as much. I actually like the second one. I shouldn't say that. I like the second one. It's kind of got a sweetness to it. I put Home Alone at the top too, because people that are from the 90s love that movie. Now, for me, I'm okay. But man, people from that era, they love Home Alone. They're nuts about Home Alone. But I enjoy Scrooge. I enjoy Fred Claus. There's so many of these movies that there's a lot of great Christmas movies, man. And I bring all this up because I can't play the trailer because the trailer has F-bombs. That's how crazy they go. Seth Rogen, Sarah Silverman did Santa Inc. It's on HBO Max. This thing has been drawing so much attention, and their response was, "You hate it because you're a white supremacist." I'm telling you, within like 2 minutes, there's F-bombs. We have to effing get presents to these effing kids, and you're like,
I saw that.
They're like the children that learned they could curse for the first time in like 7th grade, and in like the bathroom when no one was watching, and it's like they think that's funny, and it's like there's nothing interesting or appealing about any of this. I couldn't even get through an episode. I don't think I even got 15 minutes. I just couldn't do it. It's so bad. And that's before you get to all the really bad jokes. But I don't know, man. You got good Christmas movies? What's at the top of the list? Or do you just like, I'm not really into any of it?
No, I mean, I honestly like the ones I liked as a kid, right? Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph, all the animation, the Grinch. Mm-hmm. I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town was the one with Heat Miser and Cold Miser. I don't know if that's the right one.
Yeah. That was Santa Claus has the Heat Miser. I like that.
Yeah. That was the kicker for me as a kid. So if those come on, I'll watch them today. It's in my elder years. That's how the memories are so great about that stuff.
Have you been able to watch anything with the grand yet?
With the what?
The grandbaby.
Christmas shows, no.
We did I did Charlie Brown Christmas with them, and she watched it once and she was kind of like watching it, and then I said, we're gonna watch it again. You liked it, didn't you? She said she did. So we watched it again, and her brother's only 1, and there's about 15 minutes they didn't even look away. That movie is still gold, man. Mm-hmm. And she'll tell you how much she liked it. So I got him on to Rudolph now. We only got a few minutes in before we got interrupted for dinner, but that's my goal now, is to keep trying to get all 5 or 6 of those in the loop there for them. Because they'll watch things on Netflix or whatever. That's just garbage. This isn't stuff that matters, man. You got to get them on Rudolph, Frosty, Santa Claus is coming to town, you know, maybe the Grinch, but yeah, that stuff's gold, man. It's great.
Yeah, good stuff.
Great stuff. So then, yeah, I spent my life watching, and I watched Die Hard yesterday, and I ended, and I thought, there's nothing that I want to see. Oh, I want to talk about Fat Man. There's one called Fat Man. This is a crazy Christmas movie, almost like an experiment, because I always thought Krampus is the weirdest. Krampus is almost like a faux horror movie. And for those of you that don't want to spoil it, this movie's been out for years, so sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you. The movie's all it's all this like it gets to the end, and it has this message about death, and then you like have like a zap, and then you're like, oh no, it didn't actually happen, and you're like, whoa. Okay, I thought Krampus was like the weirdest, having like a horror take, but actually being entertaining. Fat Man, it pushes the envelope. So basically, the premise of the story is Santa Claus lives in like Alaska on a farm. Mel Gibson is Santa, and it's got some cuss words in it. But the long and short of it is he's got financial problems. He's trying to cut a deal with the government to keep his funding going. And then he's made this little rich kid mad by giving him coal. And the kid basically hires a hitman who hates Santa Claus because he didn't get anything. He got coal when he was a kid. And the entire premise is this, you know, can Kris Kringle keep his operation going, and will the hitman get him? And I have to tell you, man, it's entertaining. It's not good. I mean, it's like, yeah, but I don't know. I really enjoyed parts of it. It's so odd. And they try to root it in real life. Like he has a house and a wife, and, you know, Mrs. Claus, and there's all the jokes are there, and you meet elves, but they're like, it's done. I don't know. Fat Man's out there too, guys. If you're into something that's a little more adult, I'm not going to go highly recommend or anything like that, but it's not the worst thing in the world to watch. But Mel Gibson, there's parts of it I just kind of laugh. Like, I could see it. it was kind of, I was like conflicted several times in this movie about how good or bad it actually is. So I was hoping I could get Reardon to come on with us and talk about stuff like that. So he and I talk about this all the time about like, is it good or is it not good? You know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, like Scrooge is probably one of the hardest, where I like Scrooge, but I don't like Scrooge. Like, it's really a tough one. Like other ones that do the Christmas Carol story better, like even the Muppets one is better. It's a better telling of that story than the Scrooge is. But Bill Murray is really good in many of those scenes. Some of those scenes are fantastic. So, all right, man. Well, listen, I recommend it. Find some time with the grandchild and get Charlie Brown Christmas song, man. It'd be good for you.
Yeah,
good
sounds
for your
good.
soul. Stop reading about the Surgeon General. It's gonna make our head hurt. So, well, that's news talk for this week. And if you've lasted with us, we appreciate it. I see a lot of you folks on Facebook. See some of the people, I think, spam us on YouTube. I'm gonna have to figure that out, because I think that's what all that stuff is popping up. That's why I'm only putting more up there, because I think we just got spammers coming and going. So, all right, my friend, you have a good week.
All right, brother.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. See ya.